Hey everybody, good afternoon and welcome to another Marketing Monday. I am so excited to be here today. I cannot believe that tomorrow is March 1st. What is going on here, right? Like totally crazy. But we are getting into something called tax season, which you may already know about. But so I'm super excited to have today's guest. Her name is Suzanne DeWitt. I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. And we're going to talk about something we called cryptocurrency. So I'm really excited to have these discussions. So if you've been hearing things about like Bitcoin and NFTs and blockchains and Ethereum, and you're like, what are all these words? We're going to try and demystify some of that today, or Suzanne is anyway. I'm going to be asking questions. She's going to explain. So Suzanne, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you.
This is your second time here.
This is my second time here.
We're super excited that you came back. Thank you.
Thank you. It's good to be here. I can't believe it's already been almost, I think, I was here last on Halloween.
Was it that long
ago?
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yes. So I did no costume this time.
Just me.
No, but I'm Suzanne DeWitt. I'm an attorney in Miami. My main area of practice is tax planning. Right. But obviously for today, a large part of a new part of my practice is dealing in cryptocurrency and setting up transactions that are, using that as a foundation.
That's like gotta be a big deal.
I remember being on one of like a call maybe a year ago and literally was not taking notes, but writing down every word I didn't understand to look up after.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty much that.
It's a whole new language.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole new language. So yeah, it totally gets. So I'm starting to learn about NFTs, and I've bought some Ethereum, and I got my OpenSea, and I'm trying to get into buying NFTs just because I feel like it's something I have to learn, right? So is it something? So talk to us a little bit about sort of what's going on, and maybe what if people who are not aware of these things or skeptical, what are some things that maybe we should start becoming aware of at least?
Okay. I guess first and foremost to take a big step back and, for where I was about a year and a half ago, what is cryptocurrency?
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency is a currency, right? It's, they call it crypto because it's not creepy, but it's encrypted. And I think that's the mainframe of the currency. And I think, what the type of currency that, crypto is, what distinguishes it from, let's say, dollars that are, through the banking system, is that cryptocurrency is decentralized and the security blanket of cryptocurrency, which, like, for example, Bitcoin,
right,
is
there's different types of cryptocurrency, right?
Correct.
Okay.
There's like Ethereum, as you had indicated, Bitcoin. There's like 5 others that pretty much take up the market space, a majority of the market space, and they're projected they're protected from a blockchain, and a blockchain is the security blanket. So like a bank has a ledger, and they're like, back in the day they had their little ledgers, and then they have their computers. A typical currency has a blockchain, and it's supposedly very safe, and it's quicker transaction time than banks. You have more control over your currency, and one thing is that it's not subject to that much volatility or change, whereas a currency that's tied to the markets is sort of it's independent. So it's unique like that. It's really, I think, the wave of the future, although I've been seeing that it was, Bitcoin's been around since 2008. So
yeah, and it's just becoming, you're hearing of it more. So when I first heard of it, I'm like, this has got to be a joke, right? And just totally brushed it off. And I laugh to myself now about that, because when I first started my social media business 15 years ago, people were laughing at me pretty much.
They're like, what's so social about media?
Why do I don't need that. Like, that's trendy. My business doesn't need that. And I'm like, I'll tell you, your business is going to want to have a presence on this. And lo and behold, like, here we are. So I know, like, not everything that happens necessarily changes the world. But so in the beginning, I was like that, right? With that. And now I'm paying more attention to it because it just seems like you can't escape it.
You can. And one of the necessary, I guess, evils of the area I practice in is that you can't put your head in the sand. It's going to pass you by. So you have to get on the train or not get on the train. And one thing about cryptocurrency is that you can't understand it just a little bit. You have to understand it or defer to others,
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's very intricate. It's not regulated that much yet. So you do have to be a sophisticated currency holder, if you will. And you seem like you have, as you said, you have Ethereum.
I'm dabbling just because I want to know what it is. Like I watched YouTube videos. Honestly, I got into it because I wanted to start buying NFTs because I had seen that there's potential for that to be a good, could be almost like a passive income, right? Almost like buying stocks, but like you're actually buying something, even though it's digital, you're buying something, and then that can, who knows, that could jump up in value, kind of like a baseball card or something, which those are like having a resurgence.
Yeah.
But it's all digital. And so anyways, that's why I got into it, because I thought, oh, this is kind of interesting, actually. So I wanted to learn about that. So with your clients, how are they, I know you probably can't give me specifics, but like, how are they starting to, in terms of tax planning and just planning in general, how are they starting to use cryptocurrency?
Okay, well, I'm not still not set up to take payments on cryptocurrency, but I know a lot of mainstream retailers are. Will law firms start, processing their fees in crypto? Probably, eventually sooner rather than later. But in terms of tax planning, for example, I had an interesting call from a client who is not only actively purchasing NFTs, which, taking a step back, what is an NFT? It's a non-fungible token. Okay, what's a non-fungible token?
Such a mouthful. Who came up with that word, by the way? Who did that?
Right. So it's, the way I see it is that a non-fungible token is like a dollar, but a dollar is fungible because you can take a dollar or you can take 10 dimes. Here, a non-fungible token is that if you purchased $1 and Bansky, the artist, signed it, that becomes non-fungible and it becomes its own value. So you have this coding, and therefore with Ethereum, and you purchase it, it's yours. And through the blockchain, you can be traced to that. So just because you can't see, touch, and feel something doesn't mean it's virtual in the sense of worth, giving it less value or what have you. In fact, I think it's probably it's going to be quickly coming to mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, you're seeing you're changing their profile pictures on social media
to those memes,
the NFTs that they're purchasing, because there's different types of NFTs that you can purchase, but they're all digital, right? So it's kind of like a weird concept because you're like, I want to go to the shoe store and I want to like touch the pair of shoes that I'm buying. I want to wear the pair of shoes that I'm buying. But there's this whole other world out there where people are buying, especially as we're seeing like the metaverse and all these things emerge, where you can buy stuff and put it in, build your own world, right? With like your NFTs. And it's really crazy out there.
The metaverse is definitely insanely innovative in that you can build your own house and put up your own NFT art, if you will. But when you take a step back, how different is that from traditional art? I guess, people back, you have a painting and you're just looking at it. Well, here, this can go anywhere with you. Can you take your Mona Lisa anywhere with you?
I mean, I guess you could, but probably not advised.
Probably not a good idea. But, and then I think there's also a lot of value coming up from NFTs and derivative NFTs. Okay. And what do I mean by that? I mean that you have your NFT where you purchase something and it's just yours, it's tied to you, it's unique, and you create almost like art, copies of the NFT, so it's derivative of that, so people can buy that from you at less money, like you're going to have 100 copies of your print. And it can also take on life forms and different, like movable art. Sometimes like the little character will transform or blow up or so it goes in so many different directions.
It's super hard to wrap your head around, I think, until you're in it and you're doing it. Because at first I was like, what? But I was like, like I said, I felt like it's just something that I've had to learn. So I'm not like putting a ton of money into NFTs. I'm just dabbling because I want to understand it. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And it's kind of bizarre, but it's interesting to see. So in terms of like businesses, I think this is interesting to see how it goes. Cause you reference blockchain, right?
Mhm.
Which is sort of, it'll, for the life of that piece, it'll tell you who had it, who owned it, how much it was bought for, how much it was sold for. Like you'll have all the information, right?
Mhm.
So is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what I think is really interesting about this that I read, and maybe this is something that you have some further feedback on, is let's just say like Nike, for example. So people, we know that their Jordans and their releases on their shoe, there's like a big deal, and people will stand in line, they'll buy these shoes, and then what do they do with them? They go and they resell them for like triple the amount of money. Nike doesn't make money off of that. They just make money off of the original sale. The person that bought it and resells it pockets the whole profit, right?
Right.
But I read somewhere that like, let's say in the digital world, like let's say Nike sells an NFT of their shoe, right? So it's digital. Somebody buys that and they go and they resell it for more money, hypothetically, and maybe this is already happening. Every time it's resold for whatever it's resold for, Nike can make a percentage off of that
That's
sale.
the derivative image.
The derivative
Yep,
part.
absolutely.
So that's the really interesting part that I think that businesses kind of need to be paying attention to.
Yes, definitely. And I think that, the blockchain whole concept in having that as, your platform for NFTs and whatnot is having it more secure, is giving it like, people confidence to at least just dabble.
Right.
Because that it's robust, it's organized. Now, yes, it's subject to, I'm sure fraud is going to be injected,
Right.
higher regulation and whatever, but definitely with NFTs, what I've seen especially like in the past 6 months, is an emergence of the derivative side of art. So it's that Nike image of a shoe,
Right.
okay, and you have made a visceral photo, like an image or a avatar
Right.
of that. That is where you buy that for less money, because it's not the original, but it's like copies of a Renoir. So same thing, but the artist gets part of the
for
money.
the life that it keeps reselling, not just that one-time purchase.
Right.
That's the part that I find so fascinating.
Yeah.
About all of this.
Because originally artists, first of all, had to be dead in order to have any value to their art.
Yeah.
Number one.
So true. So true.
But and then on top of that, if copies were sold and changed hands, first of all, there's no real ledger in the open market on art. It's a bare market, whoever's holding the art.
Right.
It's very strange. I mean, this is quite opposite, and definitely I find more appealing is just definitely getting your hands around it. And what is a tax planning going to be around that? When you sell something, what is, capital gains versus ownership? You mentioned passive income.
Right.
That's taxed a different way than a capital gain. So it remains to be seen how this is all going to play out in terms of the NFT itself. Well,
right.
Once you get that down, now it's like, no, these are the derivative NFTs.
Yeah.
So
it's bananas. So let's say someone, where they're doing their tax planning with you, and I know you work with a lot of high net worth individuals who are probably well versed in the art world and using some of these as investments, right? So, how are you? What are you telling them right now? Are you telling them? I know you can't probably tell them, oh, buy Bitcoin, but like, what are they come to you and they say, oh, I just sold this NFT. Like, what do I need to do with my taxes about it? Or I'm really getting into this. Or I'm putting a lot of money into Bitcoin. How are those conversations going?
First of all, you want them to come to you before they sell or before they purchase Bitcoin. And that's a lot of the problem is exactly what you're saying. Hey, I just sold an NFT. Well, it would be great to learn before the fact, because we could plan appropriately. The good news is that, there's a trend of trying to treat the sales of these assets as capital in nature, obviously over a holding period. But there is, challenges and loopholes and whatnot. So what I would say is, definitely in like buying and trading currency is just that. It's not investing in a capital asset. So you have like that Forex equivalent concept. That's a wholly different thing than just NFT. And I think what people don't realize is you have to buy a currency in order to have that currency to buy an NFT.
Right.
So there's, you don't just get an NFT. You have to step into, this level, then that level.
Yeah.
So it would be great from the outset to get sort of like what the client wants to do in terms of what they hope, what are their, their aspects. Because like, for example, art, before you even buy Ethereum, like, do you want to hold art? Do you want to put it in a gallery? Do you want to resell it? Are you a collector? Are you a reseller? And that all, determines which way to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is so fascinating to me. All right, so if people, so and what you're saying is don't do like me and just go to YouTube and start putting money in things and selling things. I mean, again, it was like $100. It's not like a big deal, but go to
for everybody's benefit. Misty and I have spoken before, so she didn't just dive in. That's not okay. She's very smart.
Thank you. So yeah, don't be like me. No, I'm just kidding. So how are you telling your clients, like, are you educating them on these things?
Yes, I am.
Courses that you're recommending to them? Are you giving courses on these things? Like, if someone out there is watching this,
yes,
and they're like, oh man, like this is really piquing my interest. I've been hearing about this, or this conversation is making me realize I need to be paying more attention to this. What do they do? Do they just call you and
just call me? Because there's going to be different aspects. First of all, it's going to be the bigger picture, and I can educate anybody on, what is crypto, what is an NFT,
mm-hmm.
what are, trading memorabilia is equivalent to MFTs.
Yeah.
What is metaverse? How does this play in all this? So,
right.
And then definitely when you understand the infrastructure and then, hey, I want to purchase an NFT, then obviously I can advise specifically on, an intended transaction or fact. So yes, you're welcome to call me for general information.
Yeah.
Brainstorming, or if you have an idea. If I can't teach it, which is what I effectively do, it doesn't help me in the long run. So I'm happy as much to talk to anybody as they are to me, because I'm constantly, developing my practice, because it's changing every day and I keep current and I keep ahead of it.
Right. And we're seeing things that are happening too at a bigger level. Is it the mayor that was doing something recently? Excuse my lack of knowledge, but it was like something.
Yes, it was like Miami coin or Miami base or something.
Like that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was not supposed to be a regulated thing, but almost like he was opening up a think tank.
Right.
To have an own currency, of Miami to have its own currency. And I think it was very innovative of him and courageous to, suggest it. And from what I understand, this was last November. I think it's still active, but yeah.
It's so interesting. Yeah. So I think, all of this is like, it can totally like blow your mind when you're trying to like figure out. So, okay. So let's say I have another question. So let's say someone is, I know we've talked about so much today. I don't want to get too technical, but let's say somebody is thinking about starting this. Is there something other than just calling you? Is there like a place you would tell them, look, go read or subscribe to this newsletter? Or is there anything like that you can say out there right now?
I think, interestingly, a lot of publications have, sort of a whittled down explanation. Like if you go to the New York Times repository of files, there's a lot of interesting articles, Business Week, those types of things. I would stay away from blogs or homegrown information that you don't know where the source is really coming from. And they obviously provide links to other things. I would go to the main publications.
That's a good point.
Yes.
That's a good point. So in terms of because you had alluded to fraud earlier. So that's a really good point. And just being really careful where you're sourcing your information.
Right. Where you're sourcing your information and where you're, going into, because there are cyber security risks, and not just in the crypto world, but those trying to get into the crypto world. I mean, you don't want to have some sort of like worm planted in you. As if you clicked on that, it's going to follow you all the way.
Yeah. Through like forever. And you have no idea. It's just,
and you don't know what you don't know.
I know.
So
that's the scary part.
Right.
Well, you see what I mean? That's why I like to sort of like just try and begin to understand things. I think, maybe sounds like I have to have another conversation, because it's like there's just, as you start to learn about it, there's so many questions still lingering. And but at the same time, it's scary, right? But it's also really fun. I feel like
it is really fun. And it's really fun for the collector side if you have the time and the energy to invest in it. Definitely get to know it. There's a conference in Miami in early April on I think it's NFTs alone.
Oh really?
And last year it was overattended. So I'm going to be going this year.
Awesome.
And I would love to talk after that, because that will be very, very interesting. It'll be a paradigm shift.
Yeah, I would
think.
love to hear like I don't know that I personally could sit for days on end listening to stuff about that. My brain just like doesn't work like that. But I would love to.
I will come back and report.
Yes. Maybe you'll come back on the show after that, and you can share some more tips that you've learned from there. Yeah. So I know we are probably getting close to the end of this show already. It's kind of crazy. Time flies.
It does.
When we talk about so many things. So is there anything that we haven't talked about in terms of crypto, or maybe taxes coming up, or anything else that you want to mention?
It's tax season coming up.
Yeah.
You either file an extension. So there's no more COVID extensions and whatnot. So
sorry.
It's in real time again.
Yeah.
Traffic's back,
we're back.
Yeah, we're back. So
we're back.
You have to get your head into that sort of framework.
That's awesome. And if someone wants to talk to you, not just about cryptocurrency, if they're interested in your tax planning, but you are just like a superstar at,
thank you.
I'm serious. Research her, and you're going to see her name like in all these publications talking about these amazing things. Like she's just really an expert, like on her stuff, knows what she's doing.
Go to my webpage. I have links to everything.
What is your webpage?
www.dewittplc.com.
Perfect.
So,
you can check it out there. Oh, we have a question. What's filing an extension? Someone asked.
Extension of filing a tax return. Time to file a tax return. So if you have a 1040 that's due, you can file an extension, and you get a 6-month extension
to file
to file later. Because sometimes people have events where, let's say they have an asset that they've bought and sold from a fund, that's like carried interest, and they don't have a valuation yet. And a lot of funds take 6 months after the year's end. So you're not able to file the tax return with the gain that you have until you have the value of that gain. So a lot of it's sometimes in very sophisticated funds, you have to be automatically. So so that's why I mentioned that. And there's interestingly a huge trend of more people filing extension than filing returns. Like there's I
also heard the IRS is like really backed up still from COVID and everything like that.
Yeah, it is. But I don't play that roulette game. I'm still,
we're going to get this filed if we can.
Yeah, if we file if we can, and if not extension, you do your extension, your timely extension.
Yeah, smart. I love it. On point. That's how I like to be. I don't like last minute stuff. That would give me a heart attack. Not one of those people. My husband's like that. I think everyone knows we're like polar opposites in that. Where he's like, we'll do it later. And I'm like, if we don't do it now, like my head's going to explode. Like anyway, so we're constantly trying to find that like happy medium. So anyhow, but the government is the government, and the law is the law, and
it is what it is.
Right. It is what it is. The IRS is the IRS. So get those things in order. If you have questions, call my lovely friend Suzanne.
Thank you.
She is delightful.
Thank you.
And you look amazing. I know.
Likewise.
Thank you. We're just so happy to be here. Hope you come on again soon. I hope everyone out there enjoys the rest of your week. We got March Madness coming up starting tomorrow. That's what I like to call it, Pisces season. Thank you very much. We're excited. We'll see you guys next week. I have an awesome guest coming on he's a retired athlete. He's going to talk about his experience with that. And I'm just super stoked to invite him. So thank you again for being here, Suzanne.
Thank you.
I hope everyone has an awesome week. We'll see you then. Make it a good one.